Welcome to this episode of Open-SCAD by DIY3DTech.com. This episode we're going to be taking a look at this. This is a water bath that I've designed for my 3040 CNC to be able to cut objects like carbon fiber, glass, stones, and things like that, where I need both the lubrication and also to trap the particulate matter. So a couple different pieces about this design is, you notice here I've got in short brackets to mount to the bed. You can see this over here where I've got it set up for 7mm, basically 1/4-inch bolts to pass through. And then I've also got recesses in the base to put 1/4-20. Now I'm using nylon nuts in here because it is water and I don't want them to rust, even though the vise is like a white metal, etc. And then I've also got an emptying port here, so I can fill the bath with water and drain it out here. And we'll take a little bit more of a look at that on the bench once we print this out. But I just want to talk about a little bit of the setup over here. So I'm setting up the braces, I'm setting up the general box size, nut size, as well as offset I'm doing here, and I'm doing the spout setup, which is this piece, so I can empty it. Bolt size and spread, and then I'm doing a bolt 1 pattern and bolt 2. Now what this is bolt 1 and bolt 2 up here, so I can now have one XY coordinate set for each, and then just simply use the spread offset, which is about 40mm in this case. So in short, I've set this up so I can parametrically design a larger bath, because one of the pieces I've now just gotten the Creality CR10 in, which is a 12x12 printer, so I can print a substantially larger water bath with that, and that's one of my intentions on doing, is doing some larger versions of this. And we'll talk about how I finished it. Now, long story short, I've set this up in several different modules. I'm not going to go through all these pieces because they're pretty basic, and I think if you got a grasp of Open-SCAD, you kind of get the idea, so I'm not going to kind of hash it over. Basically, in this video, I just want to really share this code with you, and if you guys are looking at doing a project like this, feel free to go ahead, borrow this code, modify it, build your own water bath, because this has been a real handy, and I also have links to it. I've done over on DIY3DTech.com. I've actually used this to engrave some stones and things like that with diamond bits, so it has been a really unique addition to the shop, if you will. So again, just primarily wanted to share this. And again, with that, one of the pieces too, I'm using this rounded module over here. You might see me use this quite a bit down here. So I've got rounded here, and so this is a subroutine I've been adding to a lot to do the rounded corners like you see here, just to kind of quicken things up as a subroutine or a module, if you will. You can see my age showing with subroutine. Back to the old basic days. So anyways, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead, let's print this out. Let's take a watch on. I printed this on the Tarantula. It took a fairly long time, I think about 4 hours to print, so it's a pretty big model, and then we'll meet back at the bench and take a look at the final product. And again, the code for this will be out on the website, so if you're interested in it, feel free to head over there and take advantage of it. So let's head over to the printer. Welcome back to Open-SCAD by DIY3DTech.com. So we had looked in the computer in Open-SCAD at this. We did a time lapse of it printing, and here it is. Now, I've actually been a little bit tardy in getting the second half of this video done. So we've actually used this, and there are actually videos out on DIY3DTech.com, and I'll see about linking them below, where we actually use this. So this has turned out pretty good. So I've been pretty happy with it. I've got the valve down here, if I get this in the picture, for draining the water, so I don't have to tip the unit, and I can also flush it out between runs. As you see, we've gotten a bit of use because it's a little bit dirty, but the vise fits in here very nice, and I've used the nylon lugs down here, so I put 1/4-20s in, epoxied them in. I've put epoxy across this whole thing because we did get a little bit of separation down here where it wasn't watertight, so I simply just coated this in epoxy to make it totally watertight. You'll run into that a little bit with 3D printing, if you will, even though it looks quote-unquote quote-unquote watertight. It typically isn't watertight, and so because you'll have, you know, a little bit of gaps where some of the water will leach out, but anyways, the epoxy does wonders. Or I also put some stuff to 3D clear coat or whatever that I've used in the past down in the description, so if you're going to build something like this. And again, I've made it in Open-SCAD so I can make it different sizes. So again, I built it for this particular vise, but now I've got a Creality CR10, so I can do 12 by 12, so I can print a really big one of these now, or a lot bigger than this one, because this is a little bit bound by my, you know, 200 by 200 millimeter bed on the tarantula. Well, actually it's a 220 by 220, but I can now do a much larger one. So watch for that, because I am going to probably do a couple larger ones or different versions of this in the future. So anyways, hopefully you learned a little bit of something. You found it interesting. As always, the code is on the website if you want to go borrow it. Happy to loan it to you. Go ahead. Hopefully you learned something. And hey, subscribe button's going to be coming up over there. Hit me up in the comments below if you got any questions. It does take me a little bit of while to get to questions on this channel. You're easier to hit me up over on DIY3DTech.com if you want a quicker answer. Hit me up on one of the videos there. I do check those every day. Here I check it probably about once a week or so, because I do have several channels running. So anyways, enough rambling. See you in the next video. Cheers.